the magic,
Yeah.
the magic comes when people think about the future being these electric vehicles. So we got to talk about the electric vehicle market. So some of the numbers coming out look okay. They're not what people expected.
Yeah, no, I think with EVs, the Chinese numbers tend to get a lot of the headlines, but what was very encouraging is the last month's reported numbers for Europe were up 80%, not month over month or quarter over quarter, 80% year over year. And then in terms of the entire first half, you're looking at over 50% growth year over year. So, and Europe is already, a significant portion of the EV market, so, China is still struggling with the pullback in the subsidies that they had placed in terms of getting some momentum back in EV sales. But, China has a stated goal of 25% of vehicle sales to be electric by 2025. When the Chinese state a goal publicly and put it up in bright lights more than once, they will deliver on that target. So, so again, don't get too caught up with, okay, Chinese sales this month, aren't necessarily, where they are. They will be selling 8 million electric vehicles, a minimum of those by, 2025. And then when you get to the rest of the world, again, I think we talked about this, last week was, the governments, as part of COVID, want to reshape their economy, right? Let's take this opportunity, this crisis, to reshape the economy the way we want it to sort of evolve in the future. And sort of the whole electric vehicle platform is a big part of that. So, I think these numbers, again, really reinforce that shift, is really, really happening. There's another sort of good, one-off data point that, Volkswagen, one of their sort of longest running car factories, is now going to be producing 100% electric vehicles. They produced their last internal combustion engine at sort of one of their historic auto manufacturing plants. So I think, again, we're going to start to see more and more of those types of milestones happen as we move forward here.
So this is all good news for nickel. The subsidies are coming back into Europe. I think the Chinese have reinstigated their subsidies for automotive or electric vehicle cars. What are we able to glean from this? Let's move, in fact, segue over to mining companies, nickel mining companies, right?
Yep.
We've heard a couple of acquisitions last week, some big acquisitions you talked about last week. The market's hotting up somewhat. Where's the next big nickel deal coming from?
No, I mean that's the. The reality is there's not a lot of nickel assets available. You've got a handful of Western Australian companies, producers like Western Areas. You've got Nickel Mines in Australia that owns a chunk of the Tsingshan operation in Indonesia. And then you've got Sherritt in Canada as a standalone producer. But there's not necessarily a lot of companies that are there. So I think that scarcity value, should start to make things interesting. Again, I think, we'll need to see more momentum in nickel prices to see sort of the herd start to come. But again, you always want to be in front of the herd. That's when you make, lots of money. So, but, I think the signs are there. We talked, the previous week that the two of the large low-grade sulfide assets in Australia are both gone. So literally all of the good large low-grade sulfide assets are now gone from Australia. So with what we have in Canada nickel, I think the relative value of that just ticked up a notch. And I think again, another sense of where where the smart money is going. There's a startup called Cobalt. It's a massive private equity. They highlight the fact that Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, a fund that they are invested in, has invested in them, and their whole thing is they're out looking for cobalt and battery metals globally, and they've got all these high tech Silicon Valley data scientists crunching places to go find more cobalt, and they came to Canada. They basically picked up a large property in northern Quebec, adjacent to I'm chair of Orford, and they picked up a bunch of property, around kind of where we are. We think we've got the best bits that aren't owned by Glencore, and the Canadian Royalties Nunavik mine that's up there. But again, that's where they're having to go to find what they think is high potential, assets. And they've only, I think that's their first, first project acquisition. And again, I encourage people to go to that website. They've got a lot of people, so they've obviously raised a lot of money, and they've obviously tipped into the Silicon Valley VC market, and so it'll be interesting to see sort of where what parts of the world and how they look to go forward.